Here's a question a 5-year-old can answer. How many R's are in the word strawberry? Now watch the most advanced AI on earth get it wrong. It will confidently say 2. The answer is 3. Ask it which is bigger, 9.11 or 9.9, and it often picks 9.11, which is wrong. These tools can write code, pass the bar exam, and explain quantum physics. Yet they trip over things a child finds easy. Why? One of the people who actually built this technology, Andrej Karpathy, a founding member of OpenAI, sat down and explained exactly how these machines work for 3.5 hours. I watched all of it. And underneath it all are 7 simple mental models. Once they click, you will never use AI the same way again. Let's go. Quick context on why this matters. Andrej Karpathy helped build the AI at OpenAI and then led the AI team at Tesla. So, this is not a hot take from a random account. It is the actual blueprint from someone who built the thing. His video is a gift, but it is 3.5 hours of deep technical detail, and most people will never finish it. So, I did the work and pulled out the 7 ideas that change how you actually use these tools. No math, no jargon, just the mental models. Get these, and you will understand why AI does the weird things it does and how to get dramatically better answers out of it. Here is number 1. Mental Model 1. An AI is a lossy zip of the internet. Here is how one of these models is born. First, companies download a huge chunk of the public internet. One popular dataset, called FineWeb, is about 44 terabytes of text. That is tens of millions of web pages. Then they feed all of it through the model over and over, and the model has just one job: predict the next word again and again, trillions of times. In doing that, it slowly compresses all of that text into a single file of numbers called parameters. Karpathy's analogy is perfect. It is like a zip file of the internet, but a lossy one. When you compress a photo too hard, you keep the general picture but lose the fine detail. Same here. The model keeps the patterns and the gist of the internet, but not the exact facts. So when you ask it something, it is not looking up an answer in a database. There is no database. It is reconstructing the most likely answer from a blurry, compressed memory. This one idea explains almost everything else. It is not a search engine. It is a pattern machine, dreaming up the most probable next word. Mental Model 2. It does not see letters, it sees tokens. This is the secret behind the strawberry trick from the start. Before the AI reads your text, the text gets chopped into chunks called tokens. A token is usually a whole word or a piece of a word, not a single letter. There is a free tool called TikTokenizer that lets you see this happen. Type in strawberry, and the model might see it as just 2 or 3 colored blocks, not the individual letters. So when you ask how many R's are in strawberry, it literally cannot see the R's. It is like asking someone to count the bones in your hand while they are wearing oven mitts. The letters are hidden inside the chunks. This is also why it fumbles 9.11 versus 9.9. It is not doing math. It is seeing tokens. And in its training data, things like version 9.11 come after 9.9, so the bigger looking one feels bigger. The takeaway is huge. Never trust an AI to spell, to count characters, or to do precise arithmetic in its head. For anything exact, tell it to use a tool or to write code to calculate it. Then it gets it right every time. because the computer does the counting, not the blurry pattern machine. Mental model 3. It needs words to think. This one will instantly improve your prompts. Here is a strange fact about how these models work. They generate one token at a time, and each token gets roughly the same tiny amount of computation. There is no hidden pause button where the model sits and ponders. It just produces the next chunk, then the next. So think about what happens if you demand the final answer immediately. You are forcing it to do all of its thinking in a single step that it simply does not have. It will guess and often guess wrong. But if you let it work through the problem out loud, step by step, something almost magical happens. Each step it writes becomes thinking it can build on. The words on the page are literally its scratchpad. Karpathy shows this with a simple math problem. Ask for just the answer and the model fails. Ask it to show its reasoning first and it gets it right. So, the takeaway: give the model room to think. Say, think step by step. Or better, use a reasoning model, the ones labeled thinking, that are trained to do this automatically. Never force a hard problem into a one word answer. You are starving it of the very thing it thinks with. Mental model 4. Its memory is fuzzy, but its desk is sharp. Remember the lossy zip? That means the knowledge baked into the model is like a vague memory, something you read a year ago. You kind of remember it, but the details are soft. That is why it sometimes gets facts slightly wrong. But there is a second kind of memory, and it is razor sharp. It is the text you put directly into the chat. Karpathy describes these as two different things: knowledge in the parameters versus knowledge in the context window. Think of it as the difference between something you vaguely recall and a document open on your desk right now. The stuff on your desk, the words in the current conversation, the model can read perfectly. This is the whole reason pasting works so well. If you ask about a contract from memory, you get a fuzzy guess. If you paste the contract into the chat and then ask, you get sharp, accurate answers because now it is reading, not remembering. So, the takeaway: do not make it recall, make it read. Paste the article, the document, the data, the code directly into the chat. The single biggest upgrade to your answers is putting the source right on the model's desk. Mental Model 5. It hallucinates because we trained it to always answer. A hallucination is when the AI makes something up and says it with total confidence. A fake fact, a fake quote, a book that does not exist. For a long time, nobody could clearly explain why. Karpathy's explanation is brilliant. During training, the model is shown millions of question and answer examples, and in almost every single one, the answer is confident and complete. It basically never sees an example where the right move is to say, I don't know. So it learns one deep rule: always produce a confident answer. Then, when you ask about something it does not actually know, it does not stop. It does what it was trained to do. It generates the most plausible sounding answer, whether it is true or not. So, how do the labs fix this? Two ways. First, they now deliberately add training examples that teach the model to recognize the edge of its own knowledge and to say, I'm not sure. Second, and this is the big one, they give it tools. They train it that when it is unsure, it should search the web instead of guessing. That is why search connected AI is so much more reliable. So, your takeaway: turn on web search or tools for anything factual. Ask it to tell you when it is not sure. And always verify the confident sounding specifics because confidence is not knowledge. Mental Model 6. It does not actually know who it is. Here is a fun one that reveals a lot. Ask a brand new AI model who made you, and it might say, I'm ChatGPT, made by OpenAI, even when it was built by a completely different company. People scream copycat. But the truth is simpler and stranger. The model has no real sense of self. By default, it knows nothing about who it is. So, why does it claim to be ChatGPT? Because so much of the text about AI on the internet is about ChatGPT and OpenAI. So, when asked, it just reaches for the most common pattern in its training. It is not lying, it is auto completing the most likely answer. And the way companies fix this is almost funny. They literally hard code the identity in. They write a hidden system message at the very start of every chat that says, you are this assistant made by this company. That invisible instruction is the only reason it knows its own name. So, the takeaway: the personality and the rules of any AI come from a hidden system prompt, not from some inner being. Do not ask the model about itself to learn the truth. And remember, you can set your own system instructions to shape how it behaves for you. Mental Model 7. The newest AIs learn like AlphaGo. This is the frontier, and it is the most exciting part. The first versions of ChatGPT were taught mostly by copying humans. Show the model thousands of expert answers, and it imitates them. That is called supervised fine tuning. The problem is, you can only ever be as good as the humans you copy. Then came a different idea, borrowed from how DeepMind built AlphaGo, the AI that beat the world champion at the game of Go. Instead of copying humans, you let the model try a problem thousands of times, automatically check which attempts got the right answer, and reinforce the ones that worked. This is reinforcement learning. And here is why it is a big deal. The model stops imitating us and starts discovering its own strategies. In its famous match, AlphaGo played move 37, a move so strange that human experts thought it was a mistake. It was not. It was brilliant, and no human would have taught it. And when DeepSeek released a model trained this way, people watched it have what researchers called an aha moment, where it learned on its own to stop and recheck its work. Nobody programmed that in. It figured out that thinking longer leads to better answers. That is what the reasoning models, the ones that think before they answer, actually are. So, the takeaway: for hard logic, math, and coding, reach for a reasoning model. It is not just bigger, it learned to think in a way no human directly taught it. So, let's lock in all seven, because together they are a cheat sheet for using AI like a pro. 1. It is a lossy zip of the internet, a pattern machine, not a database. 2. It sees tokens, not letters, so never trust it for spelling or exact math. 3. It needs words to think, so let it reason step by step. 4. Its memory is fuzzy, but its desk is sharp, so paste your sources in. 5. It hallucinates because it was trained to always answer, so use tools and verify. 6. It does not know who it is. Its rules come from a hidden prompt. And 7. The best models now learn like AlphaGo, so use reasoning models for hard problems. I put all 7 on a one-page cheat sheet with the exact prompts to use for each one. To get it free, just comment the word mental and I'll send it straight to you. Before you go, if any of this finally made AI make sense, do one quick thing. subscribe. On YouTube, it is free and it tells the algorithm to show you more breakdowns like this one. On Facebook, hit the supporter button. That is what keeps this going. And on Instagram, that is where I drop the bite size version of all of this every single day. If you want to go deeper, my full guides are linked in the description. And comment mental for the free cheat sheet. Finally, a huge thank you to Andrej Karpathy for making the original masterclass. If you want the full 3.5 hour deep dive, the link is in the description. Understanding the machine is step one. Now, go use it.